The PlayStation Store is running an excellent flash sale right now, and best of all of the games on sale are under $10, and we recently uploaded a video looking at single-player games under $10. A lot of those games are actually on sale as a part of this sale, including Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, Dragon Age Inquisition, Bastion, so those titles we're not going to mention again, but they are obviously great deals. If you want to have a look at that video, please by all means watch that video, and whatever games we mentioned that are on sale, definitely pick those up as well, and then those other titles we mentioned as well, be on the lookout for those going sale. However, there are so many deals as a part of this sale that it's still worth taking a look at some other deals, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. 10 deals as a part of the PlayStation Store's flash sale, and of course, they are all under $10. Let's get right into this. First up, we have Titanfall 2 Ultimate Edition for $5.99. Titanfall 2 typically goes for around this price whenever it goes on sale, but how can you not recommend this excellent first-person shooter for this price? Titanfall 2, I think the majority of people know the story behind it. Unfortunately, this game had a train wreck of a launch as it was released right around the time as a bunch of other first-person shooters, including Battlefield 1, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Overwatch had just released a few months prior. And with all of that competition, Titanfall 2 just kind of fell to the wayside, and out of all of those first-person shooters, you can make a legit argument that Titanfall 2 is the best among all of them. Titanfall 2 is what a game sequel should be. It added a single-player campaign, which the first game didn't have, and it's pretty good, and the multiplayer had so much more depth to it. It seems like this is a game that's built a cult following, and at this point for $5.99, if you've yet to check out Titanfall 2, please do so. Next up, we have a very early release on the PlayStation 4, and that is Strider, and it's available for $2.99. Strider is a long-storied franchise going back to the Nintendo days, but with this game on the PlayStation 4, it's built ground up, and it looks very modernized. Of course, the visuals are a lot better, and the mechanics are a little bit newer. It's by no means one of the best games of all time, but bear in mind it was released as a $15 downloadable title, and now that it's available for $2.99, it's a good game and definitely worth the buy, especially if you're into side-scrolling action-adventure games. Next up, we also have a very early PlayStation 4 title. In fact, this was a launch game. Battlefield 4 Premium Edition is available for $8.99. Now, Battlefield is another very storied franchise, and Battlefield 4 was a very good game. Many will say that this was their favorite in the Battlefield series. I don't know if I would go that far, but it was a very good game. The multiplayer is still rather active, and with the Premium Edition, you'll get the extra content at $8.99. It's a great price for a very good multiplayer first-person shooter with a decent single-player campaign as well. Next up, we have Pyre for $7.99, an awesome title by Supergiant Games, who also did Bastion, and another game that we'll mention in a little bit. And by the way, Bastion is on sale. Pyre is more of a traditional RPG, but it's a great game with an awesome art style, a great high fantasy setting. You play as a character who has been exiled from society, and you quickly meet other exiles, you form a party, and then you're off to the races with the story, which is very good. Pyre at $7.99, I believe this is a new low price for it, so I would definitely check it out, especially considering how cheap it is.
Join their quest for freedom.
Next up, we've got Prototype 1 for $9.89. Prototype 2 is also $9.99. These games were released onto the PlayStation 4. I don't even know if you can call them remasters because they're basically the same game, and they were released very expensive, but now that they're down to $9.89 and $9.99 respectively, I would say that this is a much more palatable price point. Prototype 2 is a far better game than Prototype 1, and if you were around when Prototype 1 was released, you might remember that there was a gigantic war between Prototype 1 and Infamous. Luckily, if you owned a PlayStation 3, you got both games, but it's funny to see the paths both franchises went on. Prototype 2, not as much, but Prototype 2 is without a doubt the better game. Visually, this is a game that doesn't look all too well. That was one of the big turnoffs of Prototype 1 from the get-go. Looks more like a higher-end PlayStation 2 game than a PlayStation 3 title, but I must say the story's pretty interesting, the gameplay's visceral, and at this price, I would say that both games are worth a buy. Next up, we have one of the most disappointing games of this generation, but still an okay game, that's why I'm recommending it, and that is Mirror's Edge Catalyst for $4.99. Now, the hype for Mirror's Edge Catalyst was absolutely enormous. Mirror's Edge was such a good game, and when EA announced another Mirror's Edge title, so many people were excited. We didn't think we would get another game, and then when information about the game came out, footage about the game came out, it was announced that it would be a more open world title. Man, we just got more and more excited about Mirror's Edge Catalyst, but then the game came out, and while there were very good elements to it, a lot of the gameplay elements from the first title were retained. It faltered in areas such as the storytelling. That just wasn't very good, and Mirror's Edge Catalyst was one of those games where the more open design did more harm than good, and that's unfortunate. Probably would have been better off as a more linear and contained experience, but at this price point at $4.99, there's still a lot of fun to be had with Mirror's Edge Catalyst. As I mentioned, the gameplay is still solid. Visually, it looks really good, and it's such a unique game that at the very least, I would recommend you to check it out. Of course, at $59.99, it was a little bit disappointing. Now that you're paying less than 10% of the cost, I think it's a great pickup. Next up, we have a very quirky game published by EA, and that is Unravel for $4.99. Of course, earlier this year, we had the release of Unravel 2. That was a game they announced at E3 and then released it right away. But you can get the first game at a little bit of a discount, and Unravel isn't a game that's absolutely perfect. As charming and quirky as it does falter with some of the puzzles, but I think the game is so charming. Yarny is such a lovable character that Unravel is a game that you really can't hate. I've never really talked to anyone that's disliked Unravel. Everybody is at least somewhat captivated by the game, at least finds the charm very endearing, and at this point for $4.99, it's a game that you'll get a couple of hours of fun with, and I would recommend it at this price. At full price, I could see why people were hesitant, but now at $4.99, I would say it's a good pickup.
Three simple things, they open up a ton of possibilities. They let you climb on the yarn, you can swing on it, you can hoist things, or you can tether things together, connect them.
Next up, we have Transistor for $4.99. This was Supergiant Games' second title. First they did Bastion, then Transistor, and then the aforementioned Pyre. Transistor was also their first game released on the PlayStation 4, and it was a very good game. I personally would say that this is the weakest of their three games, but that doesn't really say much. All of their games are excellent. I mean, Transistor has an 83 on Metacritic. That's a very respectable score. And just like every other Supergiant title, the visuals in this game are so good, and the soundtrack is really slick as well. The combat system has a lot of depth, and it's pretty incredible that Supergiant Games were able to deliver three completely different playstyles, and I think Transistor, from a gameplay side, it is probably the strongest of the three games in that regard. The storytelling leaves a bit to be desired. It's still pretty good, but from Supergiant Games, you would expect a little bit more. Still at $4.99, Transistor is absolutely worth it.
You have something more.
Next up, we have Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2, $5.99 a pop for those. Considering that Dead Rising 4 isn't all too great of a game, you want to stay away from that, and you want to check out the original Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2. Those are great games, and those are both available on the PlayStation 4. Not incredible remasters here, just like Prototype, but they still offer all of the fun that you know from Dead Rising. These games are chaotic, they're gory, and they're a lot of fun. If you want a mindless game where you can just go in and kill stuff, Dead Rising has you covered. Yeah, there's a story there, and it's actually not all that bad. But really, you go into Dead Rising for the gameplay, and the gameplay is so much fun. $5.99 a pop for each game. I would say that's a very good deal. Just don't expect anything incredible as far as the remastering goes, but as far as the fun factor goes, Dead Rising is among the best. And lastly, we have one of the most iconic PC games of all time that is available on the PlayStation 4, and that is Terraria PS4 Edition at $5.99. That's actually a little bit expensive, I believe, than the PC version. I think whenever a Steam sale runs, Terraria is rather cheap. I think it's like $2.49. But whatever, Terraria is a game with so much longevity attached to it. This is a game that you could legitimately play for hundreds, even thousands of hours. It starts in a procedurally generated world, and then you are really left to your own devices with three basic tools: a pickaxe, a short sword, sword and an axe, and it's really up to you to make what you want of the game, but there's actually a rather high level of depth to this game behind its rather simplistic surface. Even the way this game looks, it looks like an old Super Nintendo title, but I feel like it works for the style of game that Terraria is. It's $5.99, and like I said, you can get completely absorbed into this game and spend so much time with it. Just be prepared for that. After you get past the simplistic art style, maybe that's not your cup of tea. For me, I love an old school look, and if you're like me, you will absolutely adore this game at $5.99. It's one of the most iconic games for a reason, so you should definitely check it out. So that's going to conclude this video. 10 awesome deals available on the PlayStation Store as a part of the new PlayStation Store flash sale. All of these games are under $10, as are every other game on sale. Like I said, it's an under $10 sale. And also, as I mentioned in the top of this video, other games like Sleeping Dogs, Bastion, Dragon Age Inquisition, those are great deals. We just mentioned them a couple days ago. So of course, be on the lookout for those as well as these 10 games. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.